Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Argos Anonymous. My name is Adam, and we've got a little update from the boys at Amicon today in the form of Echoes of Hokken spoilers. It's just a few. I imagine they'll be dripping out for the next 6 weeks, but I couldn't resist because some of the art on these is really cool, and some of the implications is so cool. And so we're just going to take a moment to kind of talk about it. Let's go over these new cards. The first one we're going to talk about is Astro Valor. So this is a 4-cost, 2500 power light unit. And if you look at this art, note that this is going to be a rare. That's the rarity. So it's going to be foil. And this is going, in my opinion, this is going to look awesome. You know, if you see this, it's going to shine. Argent Saga cards, of course, you know, because the card stock is so good, you can foil it. It's not going to, if it's like the other rares they've had before, they're not going to curl. It's going to bling. I'm really excited to see this card in foil. It has Brawler, like some other light units. I guess on Fire, we're seeing that too. Well, and some other stuff too, but it's got Brawler. But the main thing about Astro Valor that's interesting to me is that if you remember, Echoes of Hokken is a set designed for draft, right? Down at the bottom of the card, we can see that this is number 003 of 136. It's 136 card set, which is bigger than the other sets, and part of that is to support a draft environment. If you read this card, it says, if you control 2 or more basic units, you may play this card from your discard zone as though they were in your hand. So what is a basic unit? A basic unit is a vanilla unit, just a unit with nothing on it. You know, we've seen some of those before. But in the draft setting, vanilla units actually see play. They're part of the show. You know, you get to have fun with them. You get to draft your deck together thinking of them. So this card in a draft setting is going to be awesome. Like, yeah, it might not be meta for the next championship, but in draft, it's going to be cool. Similarly, the other ability, the activated ability at the bottom of the card is sacrifice a basic unit. And if you do that, right, put a basic unit from your hand into play. So you're going to be able to use ruined abilities to your advantage. Again, you're basically just getting extra utility out of your basic units, which I'm really excited to draft Hokken. And now I'm even more excited, and the art's good too. So moving on to card number 2, Crushing Elemental. So here we have an air unit. It's a 3-cost, 1500 power, and it looks like some huge, you know, rock stone elemental with a crazy, angry, twisted face on there. It's a common, so you will be able to find this in foil, I assume, but the base version won't be foil. Now, this one's kind of interesting. It is an elemental. It's not a beast, but it pumps beasts. You can sacrifice it to destroy an augment. Now, air has shown some hostility towards augments. Of course, air has the Zephyr Crystal, which is the infamous special shard that can handle augments like Buddha. And here's another way to do it. Now you can sacrifice this card, destroy an augment, and if you do, you can put a plus 500 counter on each beast unit you control. Now, there's another air unit that came out very recently, this Forager of the Fallen Leaf, I think it was, in the loot box number 3, which if you start pumping up your units, they can no longer be targeted by spells or effects. So now we're starting to see some combos here of different ways to pump your units. Maybe there's going to be a beast tribal deck. You throw in that Forager, you throw in Crushing Elemental. Now you're pumping your units. Now they can't be targeted. This is going to be fun. Moving on to card number 3, we have Herald of Tyrantus. This is a 5-cost, 3000 power dinosaur, boys. This is a super rare, so again, this is going to be that foiling is probably going to bling on this, which is awesome, and it's not going to curl because it's Argent Saga. So this has, we've seen some other red units that damage or that destroy damaged units. So this has that arrive effect. You can destroy a damaged unit. But more interestingly, this card implies that we're going to see more dinosaurs. And some of them, are they going to be beasts? Are they just going to be dinosaurs? Who knows? But when this card destroys an opponent's tower or unit, you can drop a dinosaur unit with a cost 4 or less right into play. So that's pretty good. Also, note that it doesn't say when it destroys a unit in battle. It just says destroys it. So you can proc that triggered ability off the arrive effect. You can damage something, play your Tyrantus, the arrive triggers, then you destroy the target damage unit, and then boom, his next ability triggers, and now you can drop 2 dinosaurs in one turn and kill something all in one swoop. So don't write him off. You've got dinosaur fans, and this guy has some cool abilities. I think he's going to show up somewhere. And the art is awesome. It's like a Spinosaurus kind of, but he's all red and he's got huge claws, and the flavor text implies that there's like a whole army of dinosaurs. You know, as second in command to Tyrantus, he gathers all the dinosaur forces. So this is going to be cool. Moving on, we have the Archeologist. Hokken Archeologist is interesting and is going to find some homes. It's a 2-cost 1,000 power unit, but the ability, just the static ability that's in there from the beginning, is augments you control can't be targeted by spells or abilities. So this is a no-brainer, I think, for Magimaze. Magimaze is a deck that's really vulnerable versus Air, because Air has the Zephyr Crystal that can just pop Magimaze like it's nothing. Unless you have an aggro Magimaze. Well, I recently ran across an aggro Magimaze that if your opponent slowed down long enough to use Zephyr Crystal against your Magimaze, they die to your aggro. But if they waited, they die to your Magimaze. It was a pretty neat deck. Anyway, this is gonna do that, protecting the Magimaze and protecting other augments that you have in your decks versus things like the Zephyr Crystal, things like the Ravenous Acid Monger, stuff like that. Also, the arrive effect, though, when that triggers, look at this. It says you may search your deck for a non-location augment. So what does that mean? Well, that means we're gonna have a new type of augments that are, I guess, locations. You know, I don't know if it's going to be like, does it change the setting of the game, the environment? What's it going to do? I don't know. I'm very curious about that. I assume we're going to see some location augments in Hokken. Moving on, we have a dark unit, the Knight Rider Ooch. We'll just go Ooch. He's a 3-cost, 2,000 power. He's an Eve. You know, can someone phonics these for me in the comments? If Ivery. So this is, I assume, now we've seen some other art of some sort of mythical creatures with some very long ears. I assume this is one of those wearing a helmet, right? So this is going to be one of those tribes or castes of Hokken that we're seeing little hints of in the lore. And this is a knight, I suppose. It's going to fit in somewhere with ruined effects or with dredge decks and stuff like that, which we're starting to see more support for, because as an additional cost to play this card, you can sacrifice a unit. And if you do, on its arrive, target unit gets -X. -X, of course, is a very powerful thing because you can destroy indestructible things by reducing their power to 0. It's a nice way to remove things. So anyway, that should be an interesting one. It is a common, so I'm excited to see how that looks in foil. Moving on. Wow. This, I mean, come on, guys. We've all been talking about it. It's our first Ninja Penguin. So this is a common, and the Pengobi Conran is a 1-cost, 500 power Ninja Flippin' Penguin. This Shinobi Penguin has some interesting abilities too that implies that there is a theme that we're starting to see among penguins in Argent Saga. If you remember the Spirit Tux, his ability was to stun your opponent's units, right? And so lo and behold, this Pengobi Conran has a stun ability. His arrive ability, when it triggers, says you may stun target unit with cost 1 or less. And it's the same effect. A stun card can't attack, block, or use activated abilities until the end of the next turn. But in addition to that, this little 1-cost 500 power penguin gains instacast while your opponent controls a stunned unit. So I'm starting to think, are we going to see more? Maybe there's more stun effects. Maybe that's something that the penguins do. And also you could probably use this with the cards like Ancient Serpent's Breath. Like because stun lasts until the end of the next turn, you could stun something using some kind of effect during your turn. And then stun is still in play during your opponent's turn. So then you can still play your your Conran, drop it during his turn to block an attack. He can play a unit with quickness, and you can nope it with this Pangobi, and then you can Ancient Serpent's Breath it back to your hand, play it again, nope something else. I mean, this is a low-cost unit. This is definitely gonna see some play. It's gonna be really fun, most importantly, to play with. It is a common, so again, we can look forward to seeing it in a basic foil. Oh man, last but certainly not least, this Savage Arbiter art is really something we've been talking about for a while. I believe this is the art or some of the art that's showing up on the actual booster box itself. 6 cost is pretty steep, but it's a 4,000 power unit. And it has an ability similar to, I believe it's Convoke from Magic the Gathering, where as an additional cost to play this card, you can exhaust any number of air units you control. And if you do, it costs 1 less to play for each. So if you settled into playing, not if you splash air, God help you, but if you're actually playing solid air, there's a lot of little units that you can keep on the board. Like all those little koala bears are coming back, and you've got Sky Raiders and stuff. You can fill your board pretty fast. So it's really not that much of a stretch to think that a couple turns into the game, you've got 4 units on the board that cost like 1, maybe a 2 on there, and you can convoke them all and drop this guy pretty fast. Now, another note on this is that, there's all kinds of players in the world, right? Like the way a card game should be designed, in my humble opinion, is to enable people to play in a variety of ways, because everyone's different. And some people like smashing into towers and like the effects and the balancing, and some people are afraid of the effects of towers and they just sit there kind of not attacking, and some people just are annoyed by it, and some people just love it. And so this is kind of cool because this card lets you ignore the effects of your opponent's air tower. So I think maybe we're going to start seeing cards that allow you to nullify opponent's towers. And if you're a player who doesn't care about nullifying tower effects, then you're not going to care about this. But if you're a player who hates dealing with towers, now maybe you've got some new strategies that are geared towards your playstyle, which would be kind of cool. The other thing on this card is we're seeing a brand new ability called Overrun. This card grants all units you control gain Overrun. Overrun supposedly is going to be a little like Trample in Magic, but adjusted for Argent Saga. So I think it's supposed to work something like if you attack a tower and somebody uses a Guardian to redirect your attack to the Guardian, if you have damage left over after you kill the Guardian, it splashes onto the tower, which is awesome. So if you run this guy, for example, he's got 4,000 power. So if they block you with a 2,000 power Guardian, this guy's going to mow through the Guardian and have a couple thousand power left, if it ends up working that way, to hit the tower and still crack the tower, which is awesome. Also, he gives all of your units Overrun. So this guy, Savage Arbiter, is not messing around. And that's our little teaser. That's our Echoes of Hokken. It drops middle of October. I bet we're going to see a ton more spoilers that are going to be leaking out over the month, and I'm just really excited about it. Everyone's going to be dropping these things, so watch Facebook and watch the Discord if you're in there, and just keep your ear to the ground, and you're going to be hearing spoilers coming from everywhere. I've heard that they're showing up in some of the LGSs that are running, like ACQs, running Argent Saga events. They're going to be getting spoilers. Some of the player teams that go to championships are getting spoilers. I might have my own little spoiler. A bunch of people are getting their own spoilers. It's awesome. Our Amicon is really... they're putting their foot forward to interact with the community in an awesome way with the release of this set and getting spoilers out to the people who love the game. And for that, we are thankful. Anyway, guys, that's all, and gals, that's all I've got right now. Enjoy this. Argos out.